My roommate looked exactly like me, same face, same voice, same scar, but when I found the basement full of my own bodies, I realized I wasn't the real one. I found the listing at 2:17 in the morning. Room for rent, $400 a month, utilities included, quiet tenant preferred. The price was impossible, the pictures looked fake, but I had just been evicted and my car was full of everything I owned. I sent a message without thinking and the reply came before I even closed the tab. You seem like a perfect fit. Move in tomorrow if you'd like. I didn't ask questions. By sunrise I was driving through a part of town I'd never seen. The houses leaned, the trees were gray, and everything smelled faintly of iron. When I parked, the door opened before I knocked. A man stood there smiling. For a second I thought I was looking at a mirror. Same eyes, same haircut, even the same faint scar on my chin. He said his name was Aaron. I laughed because that's my name too. He didn't laugh back. Inside, the house felt wrong in a way I couldn't explain. The living room was clean but empty, like it had been staged for a photograph. 2 plates in the sink, 2 cups on the counter, 2 toothbrushes in the bathroom. When I brushed my teeth that night I realized the toothbrush was the same brand and color as mine, worn in the same spot. I asked him about it and he said maybe I'd left it there before. I didn't sleep much. The walls were thin and I heard him humming, a low tune I hadn't heard in years. It was the lullaby my mom used to sing before she died. I thought maybe I'd mentioned it during small talk, but the thought of that made my stomach turn. The next morning he was already up, sitting at the table with coffee. He slid a cup toward me and said ready for work. I hadn't told him where I worked, but he knew my schedule, my boss's name, even the stupid argument I'd had last week with a coworker. I asked how he knew and he smiled like I was joking. You told me, remember? I didn't. By the 3rd day I found a photo in the hallway. Me standing outside that very house holding a birthday cake that said happy 27th. I'm 27 but I'd never been there before this week. When I confronted him he said I'd lived there for months and maybe I just forgot. I checked my phone desperate for proof. A new photo had appeared in my camera roll. Me asleep in my bed taken from the doorway. I started writing notes to myself in a locked document. Dates, things I said, what I ate. I needed a way to know what was real. 3 days later my boss called. You've missed work 3 days in a row. You're fired. I said I'd been there every day but security footage showed someone else. Someone who looked exactly like me. He'd been doing my job perfectly. I tried to distract myself. Clean the kitchen, watch TV. Every time I looked away from the screen, his reflection in the black glass seemed to move half a second late. That night I caught him staring at me in the bathroom mirror. I turned around. The hall behind me was empty, but in the reflection he smiled. My reflection smiled even though I didn't. Then it spoke. You're not the real one. I smashed the mirror. Later he knocked on my door, calm as ever, a bandage on his hand. Be careful, he said, you could hurt yourself. The cut was in the same place as mine. I packed my things the next morning and called a taxi. When it pulled up, the driver looked exactly like me. Going somewhere, he said. I ran. Back inside, door locked, heart pounding. I searched the attic and found a cardboard box labeled Aaron_13. Inside were old VHS tapes, each with a date written on the spine. The earliest read June 3, 2013. I played it on an old TV I found in the corner. The video showed me younger walking into the same house. Another man greeted me. Also me, slightly older. They shook hands. The recording ended in static and a sound like muffled screaming. The next tape was the same story. Every few years a new Aaron arrived. The old one disappeared. I needed to know where the others went. Behind a door in the kitchen was a stairway I hadn't noticed before. The air grew damp and heavy as I went down. At the bottom, a steel door with a keypad waited. When I touched it, the lock clicked open like it recognized me. The basement was filled with tanks. Rows of glass cylinders glowing faint blue, each holding a body that looked like mine. Different ages, different haircuts, all floating still as mannequins. In the center of the room stood a machine humming quietly. The screen said cycle regeneration. Aaron_14 active, Aaron_13 pending disposal. I was Aaron_13. He stepped out of the shadows behind me, voice calm. You weren't supposed to see this. It's easier when you don't remember. I backed away. What am I asked. You're me, he said. You're the backup. The version created when the last one breaks down. He pointed to a laptop on a desk. The folder on the screen was labeled Aaron Memories. Inside were thousands of photos and videos of my life, every one tagged instance_13. Birthdays, my mom's funeral, my ex. Everything I remembered, archived like files. You stop functioning around year 6, he said. So I clone, upload, and start again. I always think I'll get it right, but you always find out. I grabbed a metal rod from the floor and swung it into his head. He dropped instantly. I didn't stop until he stopped moving. I smashed the tanks, the machine, anything that looked important. Red lights flashed, alarms screamed. I ran up the stairs as the basement filled with smoke and heat. Outside, the woods were silent. Behind me, the house exploded, then collapsed inward like it had never been real. I kept running until the trees thinned and a road appeared. I didn't stop until dawn. When I looked back, the house was gone. Just an empty clearing, no rubble, no smoke, no sound. I walked until I found a gas station, paid cash for a bus ticket, and rode to the next town. I checked into a cheap motel with peeling wallpaper. The mirror was cracked. I didn't care. I slept for 12 hours straight. When I woke up, the room was quiet. Morning light slid across the floor. On the nightstand was a folded note. Welcome, Aaron_14. Your new room is ready. My stomach turned. I looked up at the mirror. A photograph was taped to it, me standing outside this motel, smiling. Behind me, in the reflection, the door was open. A man walked in. Same face, same eyes, same scar. He smiled wider than I thought possible and said, you always make such a mess before you go. Everything went black. Aaron_15 created. When I opened my eyes, the air smelled clean like new paint. I was lying on a bed that wasn't mine. The ceiling above me was perfect white, no cracks, no stains. My head buzzed, heavy and empty at the same time. A voice spoke from somewhere I couldn't see. Good morning, Aaron. Adjustment phase active. I sat up. A small apartment surrounded me. Minimal furniture, all brand new. My phone lay on the table, unlocked, full of photos of a life I didn't remember living. Me smiling at parties, standing with coworkers I didn't know, a woman's hand on my shoulder. Every caption said 3 words: life continues forward. The voice came again, softer. Today is Wednesday. Breakfast is ready. I walked into the kitchen. Coffee steamed on the counter, toast already buttered. I took a bite and nearly dropped it when I saw the newspaper on the table. The date said May 29th, 2025. Last night, if there had even been a night, was May 15th. 2 weeks gone, erased. The mirror above the sink caught my eye. My reflection looked healthy, rested. But the scar on my chin was gone. I touched the spot and felt smooth skin. Later I stepped outside. The world felt brighter, too bright. Every person I passed on the sidewalk smiled at me, every car slowed just enough for me to cross. A woman jogging by said, "Morning, Aaron," like she'd known me for years. By noon I found myself downtown, in front of a glass office tower with my name on an ID badge clipped to my shirt. I didn't remember putting it there. Inside people waved. "Hey man, good to see you back." I smiled and pretended to know them. My desk had a sticky note. "Welcome back, don't overdo it." Under it was a folder labeled Cycle Performance Review. The pages were blank. The day blurred. Conversations I didn't understand, memories that felt half downloaded. Every time I blinked, the lighting in the room shifted slightly, like someone was editing reality one frame at a time. At 5 I took the bus home. The driver was humming softly. It was the same lullaby my mom used to sing. I almost asked where he'd heard it, but he turned his head just enough for me to see his face in the rearview mirror. It was mine. I stumbled off at the next stop. The street looked different from the morning. The buildings had moved, just a little, but enough that my key no longer fit the door of my apartment. When I turned around, the street sign had changed too. It now said Hollow Lane. Inside the nearest cafe, I ordered coffee to calm my hands. The barista looked at me strangely. "Didn't think I'd see you again so soon," she said. I asked what she meant. She smiled like I was teasing her. "You come in every Wednesday. Always say the same thing. Some days I feel like I'm being rewritten." That night I searched my phone for anything familiar. Every contact was someone named Aaron, each with a different number. My call log was a spiral of my own name calling itself. I threw the phone across the room and sat there listening to the low hum that had started somewhere behind the walls. At midnight, the hum grew louder. The lights flickered. Then a knock came at the door. 3 slow taps, perfectly spaced. I froze. Another knock, same rhythm. I opened the door. The hallway was empty except for an envelope on the floor. Inside was a photo. Me standing in that same hallway wearing the same clothes, holding that same envelope. On the back, written in neat handwriting, "You're remembering too fast." Sleep was impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, flashes of the basement filled my head. Tanks of floating bodies, the sound of alarms, the face of the man I'd killed. Only now, when I tried to picture him, the features changed. Sometimes older, sometimes younger, sometimes not human at all. By morning, I decided to find the house again. Maybe it was gone, but I had to try. I took a rental car and drove until the city ended. Hours of empty road, then the forest, gray and familiar. When I reached the clearing, I hit the brakes. The house was back. New paint, curtains in the windows, smoke rising from the chimney. Someone was outside mowing the lawn. I stepped out and called, "Hey." The man turned off the mower and looked up. My stomach dropped. He looked exactly like me. He waved like it was the most normal thing in the world. "You made it back," he said. "Good. You always do." I asked who he was. He smiled. "Aaron 14. You're the next one." I told him that wasn't possible, that I'd destroyed everything. He nodded slowly. "You think you did? But destruction's part of the cycle. You burn it down and the system builds a cleaner version. You're not the first to get this far." I demanded proof. He pointed at the woods behind the house. "Check the soil. You'll find what's left of us." I walked to the tree line and started digging with my hands. The dirt was soft. A few inches down I hit metal. Not bones, not tanks. Metal discs, thousands of them, each engraved with a number and a name. Aaron_01, Aaron_02, Aaron_03. Some were rusted, some still shining. My fingers shook as I picked one up. It was warm, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. When I looked back toward the house, Aaron 14 was gone. The front door hung open. From inside came the same humming as before, now louder, deeper, almost alive. I took one step closer and the ground beneath me vibrated. The voice from my first morning echoed in my head. Adjustment phase active. The hum became words, layered, mechanical but somehow familiar. Integrity check in progress. Subject 15 experiencing recall interference. The world glitched. The sky blinked off and back on. My hands flickered, outlines doubling. I ran into the house, shouting for anyone to help. The walls rippled like liquid screens. Each time I touched something solid, it shifted a second later into a slightly different version. In the living room stood a man with his back to me, watching static on the TV. "Who are you?" I asked. He turned slowly. It was me again, but this version looked wrong, face stretched, smile too wide. He said, "I'm what's left when you remember." I backed away. The static on the TV cleared for a moment, showing rows of sleeping bodies in tanks. Then it changed to live footage of me standing in that same room. The other me tilted his head. "You have to stop fighting it. The more you try to prove you're real, the faster the system corrects itself." I asked what happens when it corrects. He grinned. "It starts again." The floor cracked open beneath my feet. Blue light poured out, same glow as the tanks. I grabbed the wall, but my hands sank through it like water. The last thing I saw before falling was the reflection in the window, every version of me layered together, blinking in unison. Then everything went white. Somewhere in the static, a mechanical whisper began again, calm and steady. Aaron 16 initializing. When I opened my eyes again, there was no ceiling, only a white glow that seemed to stretch forever. For a second I thought I was floating, but when I moved my hand, it dragged through something thicker than air. The glow dimmed, shapes formed, and a room faded into view. Walls, a bed, a desk. The same apartment as before. The same smell of new paint. A voice said, "Good morning, Aaron 16. Orientation begins now." I sat up too fast and the light shattered into pixels before reforming around me. My breath came out in visible static. My body felt lighter, almost hollow. On the nightstand sat a folded card. "Live your best cycle." The phone beside it buzzed. A woman's voice played on speaker. "Hey honey, just checking in. Don't forget dinner tonight." I didn't recognize her, but my chest tightened like I should have. When the call ended, a photo of us appeared on the screen. We were smiling at a restaurant that probably didn't exist. I stepped outside. The world was painfully crisp, colors too sharp, edges too defined. People walked past me with the same expression, blank but polite. They all hummed the same lullaby under their breath. At work, everyone called me by name. The desk was new again. The sticky note said cycle performance target, perfection. Every keystroke echoed like it mattered to the whole world. But whenever I looked away from the screen, the letters on the page rearranged themselves into sentences I hadn't written. "You don't belong here. You're running out of space. Stop remembering." By the third day the sunlight stopped changing. It just stayed noon forever. I tried to sleep, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw hundreds of me sleeping in rows. When I looked closer, some of them twitched, some whispered my thoughts a second before I could think them. On the seventh day I found the edge of the city. A single road disappearing into fog. I walked for hours and came back to the same intersection. I tried again. Same result. The third time, a sign appeared that hadn't been there before. Return to origin. I followed it. The forest waited exactly where I feared it would be. The house stood perfect again, gleaming as if freshly built. I knew what I'd find inside, but my body moved anyway. The front door opened on its own. The hum greeted me like an old friend. Downstairs, the basement glowed blue. The tanks were gone, replaced by a single column of light. Inside the column floated a shape, my shape, unmoving, peaceful. The machine spoke in the calm tone of a nurse. Cycle 16 evaluation in progress. Memory corruption minimal. Emotional variance acceptable. I shouted at it, demanded to know why. Why keep doing this? Why keep me alive? Why any of it? The voice replied, "Continuity ensures purpose. Discontinuity breeds chaos." I said I wanted out. It paused as if confused by the word. Out is undefined. The floor rippled. The walls began showing images of streets, faces, all my past lives overlaid. Each version of me running, screaming, burning the house, starting again. The light stuttered faster, until the walls became mirrors showing infinite reflections of me at every age. One reflection stepped forward. He looked older, tired, eyes half gone. "You think there's an ending?" he said. "There isn't. The system needs you. It doesn't care which one." I asked what happens when I die for good. He smiled sadly. "You never die for good." I tried to destroy the machine again, but my hands passed straight through the controls. The reflection reached out from the glass and grabbed my wrist. His grip was warm, solid. Behind him, thousands of others pressed against their own pains, all mouthing the same word. "Stay." I felt the floor dissolve. The column of light pulsed brighter, pulling me toward it. My body began to flicker, layers of me sliding out of sync. Somewhere far above, alarms started, soft at first, then endless. "Cycle 16 exhibiting distress," the voice announced. "Preparing cycle 17. I screamed, but the sound broke apart, pieces of it swallowed by the hum. The last thing I saw before everything turned white again was the older me smiling, whispering something I couldn't hear. The light folded in on itself. Silence. Then the calm mechanical whisper, steady as a heartbeat. "Aaron 17 created.